technology expert at Jackson State. He works with me closely. He's my left hand and right hand because I might not do it right unless he double check the sound and everything. You all wired up here?
Yes, sir.
Are ready to go? Am I ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's rolling, okay. I'm ready. Today, April 7th, 2006, I'm interviewing attorney.
April 6th.
Today is the
April 6th.
April 6th. I said April 6th.
You said 7th.
Over here. I got the wrong stuff out here. I'm interviewing attorney Banks in his office, and we are at 1111
East Capitol.
East Capitol Street. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm so pleased that you agreed to be interviewed at short notice. Let me open with the question. Early in life, did you prepare yourself for a career?
Well, I guess I did. I went to school.
Yes, all right.
Obviously, going to school is a preparation for a career of some kind.
You attended Howard University.
Yeah, if you're talking about when you say early in life, I didn't know how early you
okay. Well, then start at the early beginning, elementary years, so that I have a profile of high school and everything then.
I started school at Holy Child Jesus Elementary School in pre-prim in Canton, Mississippi, and I went there through the second grade, and then I came to Jackson. My parents moved to Jackson, and I continued at Holy Ghost Elementary School and Holy Ghost High School, and transferred to Lanier in my junior year and finished my last 2 years of high school at Lanier High School here in Jackson.
Now, are you a Catholic?
I was a Catholic, yeah.
Oh, all right. All right, so I get the overtone that you may have been reared as a Catholic if you attended.
Well, I attended Catholic school. My parents were not Catholic, but I attended Catholic school and was baptized Catholic when I was in 6th grade. All
right. And can you sort of give me some idea as to how you got to Howard? You got a scholarship, or you just wanted to go there?
Well, I got a scholarship, basically. You're right. At that time, Howard came through the South testing students of promise. I think you had to have a certain grade average to take the test. And I took the Howard test, and Howard offered me a scholarship. And that was my first time in Washington, D.C. First time I saw Howard was when I went up there.
I see.
Late August or September to begin as a student at Howard University.
What was your major?
Well, I majored finally majored in business administration with a concentration in accounting.
Oh, all right. No history at all.
No.
I see. All right. Do you recall any of the prominent historians at Howard at that point when you first was there, or someone who was really writing?
There were several prominent historians and sociologists and people in other disciplines. Can't put out any names like right now. You know, E. Franklin Frazier was there.
Yes.
He was not a historian. Sterling
Stuckey.
Sterling Logan? Not Sterling Logan. What's his name?
I know Sterling Stuckey.
No, it wasn't Stuckey.
It wasn't?
He may have been there, but since I was not in history, No.
Oh, okay. I might not can help you out at all then. Okay. All right. Let me venture on here. You became interested in being a Mississippi legislator just when?
Well, I came back to the state in 1968, and I came back as a lawyer, and obviously I was interested in change and the potential that Mississippi had for change, given the fact that it was a state with the largest black population, the potential that a black voting populace would have to have an impact on that change. So involvement in politics in general came naturally and came very early on in my career after I returned to Mississippi to practice law in 1968. The very first thing that I was engaged in was preparing a part of the brief that was submitted by the Loyalist Democrats to the Rules Committee of the Democratic National Convention, that in an effort to unseat the regular Democratic delegation. Of course, in 1968, that delegation wasn't unseated, and it started there and went on from there in various political endeavors. I was involved in managing Reuben Anderson's campaign in 1969 for the city of Jackson, for the city commission. Involved in an organization called the Political Action League, or PAL, that we founded in 1970-71, that screened, interviewed, and endorsed candidates, involved in various voter registration and get out the vote activities. I ran Jess Brown's campaign for county judge in 1974, and testified as an expert witness in a number of the redistricting suits that were being filed and litigated primarily by the Lawyers Committee. And in 1975, when one of those suits resulted in creating single-member districts in Hinds County, I decided to run to fill one of those seats.
Now, were you prodded by, should I say, Reuben Anderson or Jess Brown? Were you there understudied to some degree?
No, I was
not at all.
No.
You were.
Reuben and I were classmates. So we were classmates at Holy Ghost High School. We go back a long way. So we were anything prodding. We were prodding each other.
Oh, okay.
In fact, and Jess, in fact, was one of my opponents in 1975. He ran for the seat himself.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, I beat Jess in a runoff. For that seat. And obviously, to an extent, as an older lawyer, Jess Brown was the person that I looked up to in terms of the practice of law. So at that time, we were all kind of prodding each other.
Yeah. Okay. Now, in that era, though, Attorney Jack Young was not involved in, should I say, the political arena as such. What's your comment on that?
Jack Young Sr. or Jack Young Jr.? I don't know.
Jack Young Sr. I mean,
Jack Young Sr. was not involved as a candidate for office.
Okay.
Jack was the president of the NAACP, the Jackson branch NAACP, up until 1971, when I succeeded him. In fact, he recruited me to replace him as president of the Jackson branch NAACP. And he was practicing law, and he was still representing the NAACP in the state. Jack actually passed away in 1976.
Oh, 1976. All right. Let me venture on to maybe
Jack Young Jr. had run for the legislature in 1971.
Now, did he stay in the scene or did he leave town?
No, Jack Young Jr. is still here.
Oh, he's still here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I sort of lost track of his involvement and the like. All right, now let me go on to your strategy for winning, should I say, at this point. Now, did you have a campaign manager like most people? How did you go about winning that election?
Well, it was a new kind of election for us. It was a smaller, compact district. I think we had 7 precincts involved, and my strategy for winning the election involved door-to-door, house gatherings, and a little radio and direct mail.
All right. So now, who were some of your aides, though?
Well, Allie Mack was one of my aides.
Really?
In fact, Allie came to Jackson State in 1974. She began in September 1974, and was very interested in political matters, and I enlisted her aid in the Jess Brown campaign of 1974, and she got involved there and helped me in 1975. And the initial campaign was truncated in that the decision came down creating the districts in early July, and the primary was early August. So we had from qualifying to the first primary, I think it was 17 days.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You didn't have no time, but you were organized enough because you knew that the decision would come down, and so you jumped on it.
Yeah, well, I didn't organize before it came down. First I decided which district I was going to run in.
So what district was that?
I ran in a district that includes Jackson State. It surrounds Jackson State. It included the precincts that were Washington Addition, and the area north of Jackson State. I can't name all the precincts right now.
Sure.
Those precincts have changed and been reconfigured, but basically it was those precincts that surrounded Jackson State.
So now you
63, 64, 51, 53.
All right. So you involved, should I say, the political scientists at Jackson State to some degree. McLemore was there. Yeah. Coleman was there.
Coleman was not there at that time.
She was not? Okay.
I don't think she'd gotten back yet.
Okay.
That year. I'm not sure. I can't remember when Mary got back, but I don't think it was 1974, 1975.
All right. In your speech in January at the Robert Clark Symposium, you said so many things that I was trying to capture some of this. Let me just focus in on the man, Robert Clark. Did you have any personal experiences with him? You know, having come to the legislature in 76, you see, and he'd been there 8 years before. What kind of, should I say, relationship did you have with him at the outset?
It was a good relationship at the outset. He was our mentor. I mean, he was the guy that we went to get our questions answered.
Okay.
Obviously, he'd been there for 8 years. He experienced most of the people. He knew the people who were veterans. He knew something about the rules and where some of the bodies were buried, so to speak. So he acted as our leader.
He knew the ropes,
yeah.
And you all listened, and here again, you all sort of strategized as an early black caucus. Would you say that or not?
I would say that's true. It was an informal black caucus of 4.
All right. And so
at the same time, Robert was becoming an insider. He was, on the team that supported Buddy Newman's candidacy.
Yeah.
He had been named vice chair of the education committee. And so he had become, after 8 years, finally a part of the leadership, so to speak. And we as freshman black legislators were still outsiders.
Now, here again, this, I suppose, was 1976.
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay.
Said 1977. We took.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 1976.
Yeah,
elected in 75
yes.
and took office in 76.
All right. And so, do you recall who he was pitted against as Speaker for that position? What about that?
All that took place before we got there.
Oh, okay.
Basically, all of that. And it wasn't a formal campaign. Nobody ran against him in any sense that they were up for, that there were some votes cast in 1976. There were people jockeying to be Speaker in 1975.
Yes.
As soon as it was determined who the legislators were going to be after the 75 election, this pre-session campaigning was going on, and Buddy Newman was lining up votes, and other possibilities were Butch Lambert and Sonny Meredith.
Okay.
Yeah. And George Payne Casa may have been a possibility. I'm not sure right now just who all considered themselves a candidate, but I know that Buddy Newman was able to line up most of the people in his camp pretty early on, such that there wasn't any real race.
And so now, did the Speaker Junkin endorse anybody, or was he so sick and everything that he just let them?
I don't know that Junkin was involved in endorsing anybody. Somebody that tell me, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Obviously, I think Buddy had served as Speaker Pro Tem at the end of the previous session during Junkin's illness, so he had a leg up in that.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Now, after you were seated, and there was no problem with you being seated.
No.
In that first 4-year cycle of work in the legislature, were you assigned to any special forces, commissions, advisory committees, or anything like that?
Well, not really. Everybody is assigned to committees, but I wasn't assigned any special ones except the initial committee that I was assigned to, and that involved an election contest. Very first thing that we had in the 1976 legislative session was an election contest between Henry Boyd and Ralph Doxey from up in Marshall County. And Henry Boyd was challenging the results of the election. Ralph Doxey had been certified as the winning candidate.
So how was that resolved?
It was resolved by seating Ralph Doxey.
All right.
We had 5 members of the Judiciary Committee. Was it 5 of us? I think it was 5. They weren't all. Yeah. Sonny Meredith was chair. Tom Campbell. I was on it. And Bill Wilkerson. I think there was somebody else, but I can't remember who it was right now. We were appointed as the hearing committee to determine that election dispute. And in the end, it went several days of hearings, and in the end, Doxey was seated, and it was unanimous.
At that point, and perhaps it's not changed, how many committee assignments do a freshman legislator have? Do you have 3 or 2?
Usually 4.
It's 4?
Yeah, I had 4.
Oh, all right. Can you name them right off or not?
I had Judiciary.
Okay, Judiciary. Because you are an attorney.
Yeah, fees and salaries of public officials. Conservation, water resources, and oil and gas.
All right. All right. And so let's advance on to Clark's legislative record as such. Now, he was a strong supporter of education. and it seemed as if he was interested in other matters like game and fishing and all of these kinds of things. So, what is your comment on how he supported compulsory education for teenagers?
Well, he'd been an educator, and that's when he came to the legislature. He supported most measures to improve education in this state, including compulsory education for everybody. Obviously, the state had repealed all of its compulsory education laws following Brown versus Board of Education. So compulsory education laws were cited as a reason for a statewide remedy for education, for desegregation. In order to stave off desegregation, abolished repealed all compulsory education.
But wouldn't that obviously mean that the legislature would have to employ not legislature, but these districts would have to employ more teachers and all, or not? Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. I mean, they just abolished compulsory education, and folks didn't have to educate their children at all because they wanted to. Now the legislature had in the period leading up to Brown versus Board of Education tried to address educational disparities. They built a lot of new schools in the early 50s to try to put on in front of addressing those disparities, and they adopted the minimum foundation program, I think, in 1952. That was to address rural versus urban, rich district versus poor district education disparities as well. And I don't know if that was directed was directed at separate but equal so much as it was an attempt to improve education in general. But that was a big building program. But a remnant of resistance to school desegregation was the absence of a compulsory education law in the state of Mississippi. And it took several years before one was adopted.
So there was no real changes in the State Board of Education, anything like that? There was no restructuring of that or anything?
I don't recall any restructuring. The State Board of Education was not. I mean, I don't recall any restructuring of that State Board of Education at all. I don't recall State Board of Education being all that important in determining what went on in the individual school districts. Obviously, there were some things that in terms of improving curriculum, making sure that the school districts are accredited if they are, and that kind of thing. But it was the State Board of Education, as I recall, was much less active in those years compared to now. It seems taking over school districts and sending conservatives to school districts, and that may have been an outgrowth of the 1982 Education Reform Act.
All right, let me just move up just a little on education here. Now, would you say that
my memory on what
right,
things
because
that happened in terms of the state educational structure?
Was Robert Clark and you very supportive of the community college structure and funding and the like while you in the legislature?
I was not. I can't recall Robert's position. I think he was. I was not against community colleges.
Okay.
But that was not my focus while I was in the legislature. My focus was more on legal matters.
All right.
And other matters. Robert was the point man on all education issues. And obviously I did what I could to preserve things, funding and what have you for Jackson State, the center of my district.
Right.
And we all did for Jackson State as well as all going to Valley State.
Yes, him being a distinguished graduate of Jackson State and the like, it seemed as if, and you can help me out on this, was he able to, should I say, be an extension of President Peoples in trying to get appropriations for Jackson State?
Well, I think he was.
Oh, he was?
I think he was. I think he obviously he was a big supporter of Jackson State, but he wasn't exclusively a supporter of Jackson State. He saw the big picture. He also supported Alcorn and Valley State to make sure that all of the historically black schools got their fair share. And often the schools were pitted against each other by the leadership of the legislature. You can't get this because Alcorn didn't get it, or what have you. And obviously, he was not the only legislator who had constituencies interested in historically black as well as the historically white institutions of higher learning. So of the three, Robert was obviously the three of us. All of us were supportive of Jackson State. Yes. Horace Buckley was a graduate of Valley State. Yes. Very much supportive of Valley State. Doug Anderson taught at Jackson State. Yes. And Jackson State was in the center of my district. So those four legislators were all supportive of the black institutions and Jackson State in particular. So, of the presidents that you had dialogue with to some degree, because each one of them wanted some new programs for the universities and all this kind of thing, who do you feel was more popular with the college board of those three, be it Walter Washington and Boykins? And Walter Washington was probably the most popular with the college board. He had better interpersonal skills, you think? Well, how do you assess better interpersonal skills, or it may be. Okay. I don't know why he was. Yes. But I think he enjoyed a less rocky relationship with the board than did John Peoples, and it may have been that John was more aggressive in certain areas than President Washington was. I don't know that either of them. I mean, John was able to get a lot done for Jackson State, and I don't know that either approach was better than the other. Yes. And Washington was able to get a lot done for Alcorn as well. So, in the situation of the structure that was in existence there, were you ever part of the State Building Commission or anything like that? No. Doug Anderson was part of the State Building Commission. Oh, really? Okay. And what about trying to introduce legislation to help all three colleges? Was it that Clark took the lead completely, and you all perhaps had your own Black Caucus supportive of such measures as upgrading these schools? We were all supportive. I can't say that Robert took the lead completely, but he was the primary lead in all matters of education. But Doug was in a leadership role, obviously, and he was chair for a while of the institutions. What they call that committee? He may have institutional higher learning. No, you mean okay. Well, I forgot the name of the committee now. Yes. I don't know. University colleges and universities. University and colleges. Yeah, that's. And I think Doug may have been chair in the Senate when he moved to the Senate. Mm-hmm. Doug Anderson moved to the Senate in 1980, beginning around 1979, beginning in 1980. And he may have become chair at the University of Colleges at that time. At some time during his career in the Senate. He was on the Building Commission, however, during his tenure in the House. Do you recall what year there was this elevation of all these colleges to universities? Can you pinpoint that, Attorney Banks? No. Is that 76, 75, 78? I can't pinpoint it. My impression is that it was before I got there. Oh, really? So before 1976. But I'm not, it may have been shortly after I got there. I'm not sure. All right. I do recall. It was just a renaming. But it was not a package funding for each one. It was just the name only. Right.
And then all the problems.
Somebody wanted to be a university, so they made everybody a university.
Okay, yeah, no, okay, I see. All right. Let me advance on here with some other questions. Now,
some school that was not a university wanted to be a university.
Right.
And everybody got on the bandwagon.
And MUW wanted to be, and so they got status change also.
Everybody.
Cleveland State.
Delta,
and MUW.
Delta State, MUW.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. It would be Delta State.
And the black schools, yeah.
All right. Robert Clark seemed to have been interested in health and welfare also. And it seemed as if during this same era you have the establishment of a lot of health centers in these rural areas, and doctors being invited in to, should I say, assist with these health centers, so going to the people.
Those were primarily federal initiatives.
Okay.
Probably maybe an outgrowth of Lyndon Johnson's war. Probably, I'm not sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure, but we didn't have a lot to do with that in the legislature.
But you all didn't oppose
it. Most of it was federal. No, we didn't oppose it.
Yes.
But you have to recall that it was a long time before the state of Mississippi would accept federal funds. And there was just funding that Mississippi would forego, rather than have anything like a compulsion to serve people on an integrated basis. And,
did that change drastically with Governor Finch and all?
It changed. It began to change in 1968 before Governor Finch got there, but it obviously changed drastically in the 1970s.
All right. And this matter of prison reform, and it seemed as if he was an advocate of this, having prisoners go back to school so that when they come out.
Well, that's part of that's rehabilitating.
Yes.
And naturally, all were in favor of rehabilitating those charged with crime. Disproportionate number of people charged with crime are poor and black. It's a part of the constituency that you're most acutely aware of when you're elected by people who are poor and black for the most part, because that's what our districts look like. Prison reform is one thing about rehabilitation. But prison reform was generated by a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit, Gates versus Cardi, to reform practices at Parchment. It was early 70s.
All right.
Late 60s, early 70s. There was a lawsuit brought by the Lawyers Committee. A guy named Roy Abel was the one who was initially the lead counsel bringing that lawsuit.
Oh, you're saying ABLE, Roy Abel?
No, Haber. Roy Abel.
Oh, okay. All right. I try to get the spelling right and everything so I can do that. Okay, now let me venture on to this matter of staffing at the state legislature. Now, there was no blacks in the state legislature staff, professional staff people when you got there, was it?
Yes. Hillman Frazier had been hired in the fall of 1975, just before we got there, as the first black person in the House Drafting Office. That's the office composed of lawyers who draft bills. That was the first one. Prior to 1975, they didn't have anybody. I think I related that the only black folks that worked at the legislature were Gold Coast. They were the people who made the coffee and shined the shoes, and when you got this and that and other for legislators. And in the beginning of the Buddy Newman era, the three of us came in, and Robert became the vice chair. they did two things. They hired Johnny Palmer as an assistant sergeant at arms. So he went from a gold coat to a green coat. Sergeants at arms were green coats. And they hired Hillman Frazier, who's a Jackson State graduate, went to George Washington Law School, and was involved with the William Winter campaign in 1975. They hired him in the House Director's office. So when the three of us got there, Hillman was there.
So now, how did you all go about recruiting additional persons? That he was maybe the one person sort of loner. So was it a mass, not mass move? I mean, say no mass. Who were some of the others who said we got to have far more staff people who's black, African American, and the like, other than you and Clark and maybe Reverend Dr. Harris Buckley?
You're still right. Nobody was saying that other than we were advocating for affirmative action and employment across the board, not just in the legislature, but in state government in general. May have related that one of the first things that I did as a legislator was send out a request to all the agency heads to give me a breakdown of their staff by race.
Starting with the Secretary of State.
The Secretary of State was the first one to report.
Okay, so, all right.
His office was right there in the Capitol, but he was the first one to report.
Now, this was no mandate. It was just that they were supposed to...
It was a request for information.
Okay, all right.
It was a
request for information.
And he reported he had 63 staff members and all white.
Yes. Yes.
And that was true all of but mostly basically
agriculture, all the way across the board.
Everything across the board. If you had black employees, generally it was at places like State Hospital, Whitfield, or any place where you had a cafeteria. You had cafeteria workers. Any place where you had to clean up.
Yes.
You had custodians. But there were very few black clericals in any agency. No black managers in any agency.
No agency heads at all up to about what year?
No agency heads at all.
This is the early 80s.
This was the early. This was 1976.
How long did it take for this to turn around?
Remember that in 1972, after William Waller was. Well, before William Waller was elected, there were no blacks appointed to any state board or commission. William Waller was the first one. And
would you consider him being a progressive totally?
Not totally, but just relating what happened. And, William Waller called a press conference to announce that he had appointed a black person in state government. But he couldn't name him because he was an undercover agent for the drug enforcement agency. And then he called a press conference to announce that he had hired James Reynolds. James Reynolds was hired as a gubernatorial aide in the Waller office to work for George Dale, who was one of Waller's. May have been Waller's chief of staff, I'm not sure. Basically, I think James Reynolds' job was to assist in getting black folks employed.
He took his job seriously.
James,
James Reynolds.
I'm sure he did. I'm not criticizing him. I'm just saying that was the nature of the situation in 1972. That naming a person to work for somebody was an occasion for a press conference. And I think Bill Waller appointed Dr. Harrison to the college board in his term.
The dentist from Yazoo City.
Right. He may have appointed one other person, I'm not sure, to a board or a commission. But Cliff Finch pretty much appointed somebody like every board commissioner when he became governor 4 years later. And the situation began to change in terms of employment. As I think I also related during my talk that I was able to campaign with the statement that folks in my district knew more people who worked for Cook County, Illinois, than Hines County, Mississippi, and knew more people who worked for the city of Detroit than the city of Jackson. It wasn't just state government; it was state, county, and local government. If you were not on the throwing the garbage in the garbage truck or cleaning up the grounds, you didn't work for the city, you didn't work for the county either. You didn't get to drive the garbage truck either.
All right, now
the garbage truck drivers were white.
All right, now so you were still there when Governor Winter won the governorship, right?
Yes, I was.
All right, so what is your abbreviated comment on how things were after he was elected as far as black involvement in politics and the like?
Well, it was a kind of a continuum, but the dam broke really with Cliff Finch.
I like the concept, the dam broke.
Cliff Finch got in the office on votes of basically working class people. He was a trial lawyer. He wasn't in any way an establishment type person. And
yes, different.
And he appointed a lot of rednecks and black folks boards, and wherever he could appoint somebody, he did. It was Cliff Finch that appointed Reuben Anderson to the county court judgeship.
Mm-hmm.
He pretty much appointed somebody from like every board that there was. I don't know that by the time William got in office, whether there was any you can't say there was any additional integration of boards and commissions.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we were concerned and had great debate with William about the Board of Economic Development that he appointed. It was not.
Was that a new board?
Yeah, he appointed a new Board of Economic Development. Nobody black was on it. That was a source of great concern.
He did that at the outset?
Yeah, from almost the beginning of his tenure. But that's not to say that William didn't do his heart was not in the right place in terms of race. It's just that in terms of integrating boards and commissions, he continued in the same vein as
was it a paying board though?
For the most part, but most of these boards aren't going to pay very much. It's not.
That didn't pay.
It's not a matter of pay. No, it's not. No, that one didn't pay any more than any of these other boards. It was not a. It's not a matter of pay. It's a matter of having a seat at the table.
Mm-hmm. All right. I said I was going to hold you for at least 30 minutes, Attorney Banks, and I suppose I should not go beyond that. Let me just ask you another question. I contend that Robert Clark is the most influential African American politician in 20th century Mississippi politics. What is your comment on that? That's my statement.
It's hard to say.
Okay.
I don't know how you measure influence. Robert was a courageous fellow and went through a lot. He had a lot of longevity in the House and worked to achieve a number of things. But anything that's achieved in a legislative body of 174 people, you have to have others to help you do that as well. He certainly is and was a fine person and a good leader. I can't say right now that he was the most influential politician in this century. There are other rivals for that position. Benny Thompson would be one, be a rival for that. He has longevity as well, and Benny served has served continuously as an elected official since 1969.
Mm-hmm.
And he has risen to a position in Congress that no black person from Mississippi has risen to before, mostly in the 20th century. But I'm not saying you're wrong. It may very well be that Robert Clark is the most influential, even though his name may not have been the most prominent. Obviously, more people heard of Charles Evans than of Robert Clark. And Charles Evans was also the person who was given the title of the first black mayor of a town that wasn't an all-black town.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, an argument can be made that Robert is most influential for that century.
Attorney Banks, do you have any unsolicited comments you'd like to make before I conclude here? I've asked you some pinpointed questions and all. Would you like to share anything about Robert Clark, about your legacy in the Mississippi politics for the record here?
I think we pretty much covered it. Robert, you talk about the era of Robert Clark, and I think the beginning of what you call the Robert Clark era was it began with an atmosphere of great optimism about the future of Mississippi and black folks in the state of Mississippi. Coming out of, you might not know we were coming out of an era of great violence that had wrought a great deal of change. This was the Robert Clark era began, after Brown versus Board of Education, after the Montgomery bus boycott, sit-ins, freedom rides, assassination of President Kennedy.
Yes.
Assassination began around the time, same assassination of Martin King. It came after the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, 1965 Voting Rights Act, around the same time as 1967 Fair Housing Act. So that was a time when these guarantees of freedom were enacted, and at a time when we were looking forward to greater things. And he was, along with others, a lot of people were elected in 1967. He was the highest official, black official elected in 1967. And that was symbolic of that change and the promise of greater change. And I think that lasted and carried through most of the 70s and began to wane in the 80s and 90s. We didn't accomplish as much as we thought we would have.
We didn't put Senator Kirksey in the equation, but in that same voice, what would you have to say about Senator Kirksey in the 1980s?
That's true as well. It's so hard to single out any particular person. Senator Kirksey began his work in Mississippi in the 1960s, and he was steadfast in a redistricting effort to make sure that black folks have an equal opportunity to get to elect people of their choice. And self-correction service as a plaintiff in some of the school desegregation efforts, or at least the efforts to prevent pushing money into the white private school education, but white private school system, not the public school. But he was obviously most prominent in his efforts to redistrict the state, and certainly played an important role in accomplishing the level of political participation as elected officials that we have today.
I'll conclude here. Thanks a million for being interviewed at such short notice, Attorney Banks. I certainly appreciate it.
All right.
For your time.
Okay.
I can cut it off.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I want you to take a picture with me and him, okay? For the record here.